When you think of smart contracts, you're thinking Ethereum, right? Of course you are. It's the undisputed giant in the room. But when it comes to the battle for the internet's future address book, for domain names, well, that's a whole other story.
So, how did this happen? I mean, how does the biggest player in the space completely fail to capture something as fundamental as our digital addresses? That's the core question we're going to unpack here.
Okay, let's get right into it. To really understand the opportunity here, we first have to look at where Ethereum stumbled. What exactly went wrong with its attempt at a domain name system?
Well, it really boils down to three core failures. First, it was just way too complicated for mass adoption. Second, you have these wildly unpredictable gas fees. Those are the transaction costs that made it totally impractical for everyday use. And third, and this is a big one, they were basically disconnected from the existing internet, from Web 2.0.
And this really shows you what that complexity looks like in practice. An Ethereum.eth domain isn't something you can just type into your browser. It's really just a nickname for a crypto wallet. The EGoldChain idea, in contrast, is to have domains that actually function like the real web addresses we all use every single day.
And because they were so disconnected, they created what you could call a deserted island. Sure, Ethereum's domain system worked, but only for the crypto natives who are already there. For the billions of other people on the internet, it might as well not have existed.
So that's the problem. Now let's look at the solution being proposed. This is where EGoldChain steps into the picture, and their vision is way bigger than just fixing domains. They're talking about building a complete digital sovereignty civilization.
Digital sovereignty civilization. Sounds pretty grand, right? So what does it mean? We're not just talking about websites. The idea is a full-scale digital world that actually merges the old and new internet. A complete ecosystem built from the ground up, with user control and security baked right in from the start. Their plan relies on a full-stack infrastructure, and it all starts with something called the Golden Bridge. Instead of building another isolated island, they're doing the exact opposite. They're buying up high-traffic Web 2.0 domains to act as massive on-ramps, funneling existing internet users straight into their new world. The next layer up is Gold OS, and this is a huge piece of the puzzle. It's not just an app, it's a dedicated operating system. Think of it like a new Windows or Mac OS, but designed specifically for this new digital world, giving them control over security and privacy right down to the kernel level. So how do you get into this world? Through their very own native browser. The idea is pretty simple. If you build your own front door, you don't have to rely on the Web 2.0 giants who could lock you out. It's about controlling the entire experience. And the final piece of this whole stack is their decentralized cloud. This is the foundation for everything. The goal here is to give users true control, true sovereignty over their data, completely independent from big tech. So you've got the OS, the browser, and the cloud. The whole shebang.
Now, let's circle back to the names themselves, because this is absolutely key to their strategy. This is all about the power of names and how they plan to control what are essentially global gateways to the internet.
Okay, get ready for some staggering numbers. They're focused on securing domains tied to keywords with just massive organic traffic. Take the word site. That single keyword generates 9.3 billion searches every year. That's an enormous river of user attention.
And it doesn't stop there. Then you have WebMaker, which catches anyone looking to build something online. That's a mind-boggling 13.89 billion searches. It's about putting yourself right where a huge number of people are already going.
And finally, Gold Index, with another 4.53 billion. You see, these aren't just domain names. They're digital superhighways. Owning them is like owning the most valuable real estate on the internet.
This chart just puts that scale into perspective. I mean, look at those numbers. When you control entry points with this much natural search volume, you're not just a participant on the internet anymore. You're in a position to direct massive flows of traffic.
So you have the infrastructure and you have the traffic. But how do you actually power this entire civilization? Well, that brings us to what's called the new Golden Expressway, the internal economy that makes it all run.
This engine has three key parts. You've got Aurum, which is like the gas that powers everything, the OS, the browser, the cloud. Then you have USX, a gold-backed currency for all commerce inside the ecosystem. And finally, you have the validators, who run the network, keep it secure, and in return, earn a cut of every single transaction. You know, this quote really sums up the sheer scale of the ambition here. It says, Ethereum built a complicated road. EGoldChain is building a golden expressway. complete with its own operating system, its own gateway, and its own homeland. We are not here to take a share, we are here to build a new and superior world.
And that leaves us with one final, really fascinating question to think about. When you see a project building its own OS, its own browser, and its own cloud, a completely self-contained ecosystem, is this the blueprint for a truly open and decentralized web, or are we just watching the construction of a different kind of walled garden?